How do you know if the battery still has juice in it?
Well, that's what experimentation is for, isn't it? Plus, if I can get the recorder to work, then we can continue on with the plan.
Before you get even more ahead of yourself, do you even know how to work the damn thing?
I mean, it can't be that hard, can it? There are words written up here like tape and radio, so obviously that is to switch between them.
What is it doing right now?
What do you mean? Right now it's. Oh my god, it's recording. It's recording. Hunter.
Are you sure?
Yes, yes, I am. Oh my god, it's running. Oh, I can't believe it worked.
How much tape do you need? Is that a thing? Or does it only run on batteries?
Can we discuss that later? It's running. I'm so sorry, listener. I don't know how much of that you heard, but I'm Cole Kilgallen, and
Why are you looking at me like that?
you're making me nervous.
Can't you just pretend I'm not here?
No, because I know you are. Do you mind leaving?
I mean, okay. I'll let the others know to leave you alone right now. I'll tell them you're hysterical.
Don't do that. You know they'll believe you.
It's not like I'd be lying.
Get out of here already.
Jeez, fine, fine. I'm leaving.
Is it still recording? Okay, good. Looks like it still is. I'm so sorry that you had to hear all that, listener. You don't mind being called listener, right? I guess I wouldn't really know if there is anyone actually listening to these. I'll just pretend that I'm talking to myself. Yeah, that works. Well, I guess I should introduce myself, right? Why do I keep asking questions? Let's try this again. I'm Cole Gilgallen, and I am a reporter. Or, well, was. I was in college before the outbreak happened. I was only a junior before it started, so I guess technically I'd still be in school if it was around. I was a journalism major, as you can probably tell, and my main area of interest, as it were, was investigative journalism. Which sounds kind of cliche when I say it out loud because, duh, doesn't everybody who wants to be a journalist? Well, no, not really. Obviously, I like stories, but I was always more interested in learning about those I'd be interviewing and their different points of view rather than getting into the action myself. Mm, okay, cool. It's still recording. I don't actually know how long this will record for. It might shock you to learn that these were before my time. Well, not really. They were more used by collectors than by the general public. Thankfully, each of these buttons is labeled, so I have a general idea of what to push. I guess since I have batteries now, I can actually investigate it more. How long those will last is up in the air, more or less. Wow, I've talked a lot and I haven't really said anything substantial. Sorry about that, listener. I'm not really sure how you came across this tape. Maybe you found the tape left behind in a decrepit house while it was still in the cassette player. Were they together? Were there any more tapes nearby? Or will it be lost to time, forgotten and abandoned amidst a group of rabid corpses? It's possible nobody will ever actually hear this. Maybe you found this recorder in my back pocket, but all of my humanity has been stolen from me. Mm. Wow, that got grim, didn't it? Sorry about that. It's kind of hard to stay positive these days, but I'm determined to be. Not just for my own sake, but for the others too. It doesn't take a genius to see how tired they all are. It's been about 3 or 4 years since the outbreak. Hopefully, if someone is listening to this, then either it's slowing down or has been eradicated somehow. Dr. Anya said that that is impossible, that the virus has too many variants, and that there isn't a cure. All we can do is stay vigilant, which means keep going on as paranoid as we have been for the last 3 years. I think it's been 3 years. It's kind of hard to keep count when the days start blurring together. Hmm. Getting off topic again. Apologies. Well, I suppose I should stop apologizing too. I don't want to waste these batteries. I've only been looking for them for about 3 months now. Well, I technically haven't. One of the people on the scavenging mission found the recorder in one of the neighborhoods about 30 minutes from where we're stationed. Nobody else in the group wanted it because why would they? Without working batteries, it's useless. The people here don't like keeping anything that would be a nuisance or sentimental. don't get too attached in case we have to move and all of that fun stuff. Anyway, I've been holding onto this recorder in hopes that eventually one of the scouts would find working batteries so I can keep notes on the outbreak and everybody here. Between you and me, these people need some semblance of hope. Otherwise, they're just as bad as the corpses running around. Still running. Good. That's good. This tape in particular can handle about 5 minutes of nonsense. Well, what else could I talk about? I guess I could go into why I'm recording myself, and hopefully others in the future, in the first place. Depending how far ahead in the future these recordings are hopefully found, I wonder if the outbreak will still be around, or if it'll be erased from history as humanity's downfall, the fall of Rome adjacent and all that. If it isn't, I suppose I should actually talk about the outbreak I'm referring to. I don't know much of the technical or medical details, so don't think that I'm an expert or anything, listener. Or I'll know. Yeah. As I mentioned a few times, currently the group that I'm traveling with is helping the survivors of the outbreak that we've come across. Not much is known about it outside of what medical professionals know, but even those are scarce to come by nowadays. Most of them have locked themselves away out of shame or scrutiny, or they got infected like the rest of the world. From what I can remember, the beginning started off like a normal virus usually does. A handful of people from all over the US started to get sick. A lot of the initial symptoms seemed to be dizziness with a mixture of hallucinations or random parts of the body falling asleep more frequently than usual. I don't know what the technical term for when your body feels like the physical embodiment of television static, but that's what I mean. Of course, the few people I knew who were getting these bouts went to the doctor to get them checked out, but they got the usual, "You're just stressed. Have you tried exercising?" spiel. Have you ever gotten ill and been told that you're faking it, that it's all in your head and you need to snap out of it? Both of those statements are commonplace if you've ever had mental health problems or suffer from a chronic illness of some kind. It happens a lot more than it should in the medical field, if I'm being honest, but I suppose that doesn't matter now. Eventually, the ill started getting a mixture of different symptoms depending on the person. Some had suddenly grown more irritable, had trouble speaking, others didn't have the strength to eat, more became insatiable, while the rest just became more withdrawn as the days grew by. Days turned into months, and eventually, as people started to lose their ability to walk or even speak, doctors finally started to look over the cases more seriously. The strangest part about the whole ordeal is that they couldn't find a single thing that those infected had in common. Some were vegetarians, some vegans, while others were carnivores. People who exercised on the regular were just as likely to get sick as someone who only goes outside to walk across campus to go to class and the like. About a year later, those people who were infected started to drop like flies. Literally. After that, it didn't take long until they got back up again. Yeah, you heard that right. Of course, listener, you're probably thinking about all of the different types of zombie media you've interacted with in the past and think that you could survive an outbreak. Unfortunately, real life is a lot more complicated than comic books or movies. Remember how I said that those infected couldn't walk? Well, that didn't change. How do I describe it? Instead of walking, imagine somebody running towards you at their full speed while all of their bones twisted and their skin writhed against it. With every step they take to get closer, you could hear the creaking and the crackling of every decayed bone being forced into action against its own will. It's horrifying, to say the least. That combined with random muscle spasms and falling onto the ground just to stay there and continue to writhe is depressing. The one bright side is that if one of those corpses sink their teeth into you, you don't get infected. At least, I don't think so. We haven't seen anybody who'd gotten bit or scratched or wounded of some kind experience any symptoms. They're usually quarantined for a week or two and are fine. No troubles walking, no mood swings, just a gnarly bite that you need to disinfect. Which is almost worse considering peroxide is hard enough to come by after businesses shut down. After all of that, the actual worst part is that after everything, we still don't know what is or isn't safe. Before the outbreak got too out of control for the CDC to handle, the scientists had discovered that the common factor between all of the patients was the type of fertilizer farmers had used when tending to their soil, which is both good and bad. Good that we know the source, but bad since we now have zero idea on which land has or hasn't been contaminated. As you can imagine, that makes farming a little difficult. I probably shouldn't be laughing as much as I am. It's not funny. I'm just exhausted. That's not an exaggeration. Everyone else I know is exhausted too. It's been years since this began, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. People have no choice but to rely on one another since the government has done, well, what they always do: downplay the effects on the common people and continue to push the agenda that it is somebody else's problem. Which country is being blamed for bringing the virus over this time? Let's spin the wheel of racism and see where it lands. I'm mostly kidding. I genuinely have no idea what the officials are saying at this point. There's not enough people alive to keep television and radio running. If there are, they probably have their own groups to take care of. I've been speaking for a while now, but kind of blanking on what else I can talk about. Thankfully, this recorder seems to be good to keep recording. For now. Only problem is that it could cut out at any moment and I'd be none the wiser. It'd just be me and my little thoughts speaking to myself for who knows how long. Though technically, I guess that's what I am doing. There's no guarantee that anyone would ever listen to these. I just I just kind of wanted them for a selfish reason anyway. You know how I mentioned everyone is exhausted? Exhaustion has taken up many different forms within those that I speak to on a daily basis. I can hear it in their voices and see it plain on their faces. Some are irritated, some physically tired, all mentally. It's hard to keep track of how long it's been since everyone started to be paranoid about what they eat in case they turn into the physical embodiment of roadkill. The people I'm staying with have taken up a couple of houses in a neighborhood off the beaten path to hole ourselves up in. Most people quarantine when cases started to rise, but the key word is most. The people that didn't had the "this could never happen to me" mentality and continued on with their routine. What happened to them is between them and, well, whatever would be considered a higher power now. The ones that quarantined were able to keep their homes with relatively no problems. They still had their families and walls to keep them shielded. Some neighbors would still be here too if they were friendly enough before it all started. Eventually, water and electricity got cut, so when winter came on, they had to invite people into their homes. Well, I say had, but if they didn't, then they would not be seen as trustworthy anymore.
Are you done yet? Sam wants your help in the garden.
I told you I was recording.
Hey, I gave you enough time to say whatever you needed to say to that, didn't I?
Not really. I was just starting to talk about the neighborhood.
The neighborhood? That'd be funny to hear about. But seriously, we need to get seasonal crops growing if we want to be able to eat during the summer.
Is it safe?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I remember the celery. Nobody had seemed to get sick from those.
That we know of?
Geez, you complain about people being paranoid all the time. Don't throw stones at glass houses. Come on, we still have batteries for your project whenever.
Okay, fine. At least let me sign off.
Yeah, whatever, boss. We'll be out back when you're done.
Sorry about that, listener. Seems our time is going to be cut short. Has it been short? I feel like time doesn't even pass anymore. Not at the normal rate, anyway. This won't be the last you hear of me, however. Hopefully you're not sick of me already. I want to talk to the others, record their stories. I don't want our lives to be washed away from time. Thank you. Until next time, listener.